and I am joined today for the whole 3 hours in the studio by my friend, colleague, and occasional fill-in host, Jefferson Smith.
It's a pleasure to be here with you. My hope is that twice as many of us isn't half as good. I'll just try not to make it a bunch worse, but it's an honor to be here with you.
Hey, what do they say about synergy? You know,
that's what we're looking for.
The sum is greater than the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Lot to talk about. Let's start out, Jeff, with the trial. You know, the stormy weather here. This morning, what I'm getting, I'm just looking at the summary here over here on the Guardian of who's been speaking, and it started out with Jenny Tomlin, who works at Verizon. Basically, I mean, what they're trying to do is, I think, set up credibility for Michael Cohen's testimony when it comes. And then Madeleine Westerhout, who worked outside of Trump's office, director of Oval Office Operation, she's talking about how Trump micromanages everything.
Yep.
And then the most recent one was Georgia Longstreet, a paralegal with the Manhattan DA's office, who's on the stand. And right now, they're talking to Jaden Jarmel Schneider, who's also a paralegal with the New York DA's office. And again, they're talking about reviewing data from Michael Cohen's phones. So it seems to me like all of this is an attempt to set up credibility for Michael Cohen when he comes along, because he's such a not credible witness.
I think it's the fundamental challenge, or one of the fundamental challenges in the trial, right, is that what the defense lawyer wants to do, formerly from Cadwalader, formerly of WilmerHale, formerly of sort of big law firms, what they want to do is just undermine the basic idea that this adult film actress, this porn star, you can't trust her. This guy who used to work for a mob boss, by the way, the mob boss is Donald Trump, who is on trial. You can't trust him, so they've got no case. And they're not going to do that. They're not putting Trump on the stand, right? Because if they do that, you'll be able to undermine Trump's credibility. So what they want to demonstrate is that it's their word,
the
prosecution.
defense.
Forgive me. What the prosecution wants to demonstrate is that they've got facts, and the defense has no facts. The defense wants to say, we don't want to have facts. We just want to undermine any facts that the prosecution has. Right. And so I think you're absolutely right that what this is all about is trying to build enough of a record in advance. So there's documentary evidence in advance of that testimony, so that it just confirms what jurors have already heard.
Right. Let me add, by the way, I should have at the very opening of the show. It's Anything Goes Friday. We'll be taking your calls for all 3 hours. We have one guest today in the top of the third hour, Randy Weingarten, our old friend, who is the head of the National Teachers Federation. I think the National Federation of Teachers. Because there's some weird stuff going on with teachers, right? With the Republican war on education. So we'll get to that. But you're an attorney. You went to Yale Law School. Your dad was a prosecutor. Mm-hmm. So
I went to Harvard. No knock on Yale.
Oh, Harvard.
But it's fine. It's fine. I didn't plan on bringing it up, and I'm not practicing law on this case or otherwise. But yes, I'm fascinated by what's going on. And Pop was a small county prosecutor, and he gives me regular updates on how he would be trying this case, whether I ask him or not. He's constantly giving me saying, I think they did this one good. Maybe they should have done this. So I get a blow by blow, and I did check in with him this morning.
Yeah. So what does he have to say about the strategy of the prosecution? I mean, is he optimistic that Trump is going to end up getting nailed on this thing? And what say you, too, for that matter?
He tries to avoid, and I too try to avoid the prediction game, right? I didn't think Donald Trump was going to be elected president. I still have my own doubts. But there have been 2 points he's brought up. One, initially he was concerned about the judge letting in the details of Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump's sexual relationship.
Now, was that because Harvey Weinstein's New York prosecution or conviction just got overturned because salacious details were allowed in the testimony that could
a little bit,
inflame the jury?
Yeah, it would be more prejudicial than probative, right? Would it inflame the jury more than it learns and teaches any facts?
Right.
But once he understood that the door was opened by the prosecution, by the defense in opening argument, when they said, this never happened, this never happened. Well, if they're saying this never happened, and they're not going to get Donald Trump on the stand to say it never happened. They haven't said that. I just would be shocked. I would love for Donald Trump to get on the stand. I don't think he's going to.
It ain't going to happen.
But if they don't have him saying that, they've got to undermine it regardless. But they open it up in opening. So Dad adjusted his view when he realized, no, I don't think that's going to hurt him on appeal. I think they did the right thing. Plus, the defense counsel didn't object to in real time to a bunch of that stuff. The other piece that I thought was pretty insightful is he wanted to talk to Michael Cohen, or get somebody to talk to Michael Cohen, because what he wants Michael Cohen to say.
He being who?
My dad.
Okay.
My dad wants Michael Cohen to say, forgive me. What his best legal advice to Michael Cohen is to get on the stand and say, listen, I was in jail for 3 years. And when you're in jail, you have a lot of time to think. And I had a chance to think about my life and think about who I was. And I didn't like who I was. I was a jerk, and I was a liar. And I did the wrong thing a lot of times. And I decided I need to come right. I need to come clean. I need to do the right thing. This is hard for me to do right now, but I got to do it. So that he opens it up to help people, help jurors see his compassion, see his humility, see his humanity, and get it right on the table early. That was his other insight that I thought was pretty good. We'll see how Michael Cohen does on the stand. It's a lot riding on his testimony.
Yeah. The bottom line here is that all they need is one juror.
Yeah.
All the defense needs is one juror. We're not, one of the things that I was hoping we would get a whole lot of, and we haven't gotten any of, in terms of analysis from the media, from the people who are actually in the courtroom, is how the jury's responding, and if there is, in particular, there was that one juror who said he got a lot of his news from Fox or from Truth Social. Actually, I think that juror might have gotten dismissed. But in any case, is there a juror who seems to be hanging on the Trump people?
Because their whole deal, you make the point that all the defense wants is one juror, because for them, delay is victory. Right. For them, putting it on the prosecution to try, because again, if you have one, that doesn't mean you're not guilty. It means you have a hung jury. And if you have a hung jury, that doesn't mean it couldn't happen again. It means the prosecution has a tough decision to make. Are they going to try it again? It's expensive. It's hard. It's public. There's other cases they need to do. But also puts it to delay, which of course is the Trump strategy, is try to push all this stuff as much as you can after the election, so you can continue to say there's nothing here, there's nothing here, there's nothing here, and still use that as a way to try to win the election and undermine Joe Biden.
Yeah.
What about you though? Do you have a prediction? I know I could have danced around it and dodged the question.
Yeah,
but do you have a prediction?
I don't. And the big question in my mind is, if he's convicted, what's the penalty going to be? And of course he's going to appeal it. I mean, we're not going to see Trump go to jail before the election. I don't think we're going to see Trump go to jail ever. I think he'll be, long dead in his grave. And I mean, appeals can drag out for years, and he could take it all the way to the Supreme Court, and he will. I mean, he's got unlimited resources.
What would you do if you were the sitting judge, and you have a defendant who is trying to subvert the trial process, who is trying to intimidate witnesses, is trying to intimidate jurors, is gesticulating in the audiences sitting there, and you were trying to hold, and he is commenting, he is violating gag orders. You give him a $9,000 fine, which Trump doesn't care about.
It's up to 10 now.
What would you do to him? Would you put him in jail for a night? Do you think that's just what Trump wants? How would you try to do that if you were the judge?
I don't think Trump wants that. Trump has been blustering, I'm willing to, defend the Constitution. I'll go to jail to defend the Constitution. Nonsense. He posted a tweet yesterday, I guess it was, or a Truth Social or whatever you call those things, that was right on the edge, and then deleted it half hour later. I think he's frightened. The last thing he wants to do is number one, be alone with himself. Number two, be in a situation where he has to sleep and then in the morning get up and he doesn't have somebody to do his hair. Because according to his daughter, he's completely bald on the top of his head. And that, and so thus all this hair that you're seeing on the top is all comb over, basically.
Yeah. No, he's got a whole contraption.
Yeah, and he would just look silly, coming with hair down to past his shoulders.
I had not thought about the hair thing.
Yeah.
I had not thought about the hair thing.
That's the essence of his identity,
Of course, of course.
And in fact, when I've told the story on the air, but you probably haven't heard it, Louise and I went to two of the correspondence dinners, and we were at the one where Obama pilloried Trump in the audience. And before the event, there was a cocktail party downstairs in the Hilton that was put on by the Washington Post. And Louise and I were there. And Trump walks in with, Melania on his arm and a couple of big goons. And Louise walks right up to him and just takes a good look. She's like as close to him as I am to you. takes a good look at him, turns to me and says, "Bad plugs." And he starts turning red. I mean, but, she said you can see there's like this row of bad plugs across the front. And in Ivana's book, she talks about how the story about when he raped her, it was because she hooked him up with a plastic surgeon who gave him the plugs, who gave him a hair transplant, and it didn't work. It didn't turn out well.
So he got mad.
And that's why he beat her up and then raped her. And so this is like at the core of his identity, and it's a struggle for him. And his hair is obviously thinning now. You see all these wild hairs and things. So I think that's his biggest fear. Frankly.
So I had not connected those dots officially, so thank you. And I would say, even irrespective of that, I do think that the judge has to not be scared of thinking that that's what Trump wants and be willing to put him just in jail for one night, right? Yeah. If he will not live up to the judge's orders. But anyway, I'm fascinated watching it.
Yeah. There's also there's the case down in Florida, where Judge Luce Cannon, I've been calling her, but really it's Fangirl Cannon, has given him an indefinite delay. And there's the case in New York with Judge Chutkan, where the Supreme Court, or at least 4 right-wingers on the Supreme Court, have given an indefinite delay. The scenario that I'm imagining is that he loses the election and then all this stuff hits the fan all at once. And life gets really, really bad for Mr. Trump. What do you think? Oh, and he's also trying to get Fani Willis removed. Now they passed that law down in Georgia so that they could pull prosecutors. And now the legislators are trying to do that. Yeah. I think there's a really good chance they're going to get her taken off they'll just blow that case up. Oh, I'm sorry, we're hitting a break here.
Yeah, I can pick it up after.
Yeah, we'll continue the conversation. It's 18 minutes past the hour. Thom Hartmann here with you. We have Jefferson Smith in the audience, or in the audience.
I'm in the audience. I'm right here listening. It's going to be great.
We'll be back with Jeff, and also we'll get to your calls here in just a moment. Stay tuned.